Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Minish Recap. I am your host, Spigel. With me today, I have Nick
Hi.
and Deg.
Hello out there.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I am broadcasting from my living room floor. How are you guys doing today?
I'm great. I'm in a chair, though I'm not on the floor.
It's just a comfortable place for me right now, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good place to be for all this news.
Yeah. So, actually, there's no real news, unfortunately. Welcome to the rumor mill, everybody. We got a lot of rumors to go over today. And we're going to play a game that I came up with. And credit Deg for the name, actually. It's called Real or Ridiculous. And we're going to go over these rumors. And I want you guys to tell me if you think that the rumor is real or whether the rumor is ridiculous. So let's start with one of the smaller ones. And this is a list of unreleased titles for the eShop. The Nintendo eShop was released recently. And among them, games like 1080 Snowboarding for N64, Kirby Canvas Curse on DS, a bunch of Zelda games, Spirit Tracks, Phantom Hourglass, Mario Kart 64, Mario Tennis, some Phoenix Wright games, and just among some other games, Star Fox 64, Star Fox Command, Yoshi Touch and Go, and along with some Wii games as well. These are all Japanese ones, I think, though, so I'm not sure if this is real or not, but what do you guys think? Real or ridiculous, this list of all these games?
Well, I mean, it definitely... I think that question implies that, like, if the list is there, that the release of those titles is imminent. But Nintendo makes big lists of things that they want to do far in advance, and then they kind of pick from that.
Yeah, these games are coming out in 2022, right? I mean,
like we look at everything on there is completely plausible as something they would release. But if people are interpreting this list as like, early 2016, there's going to be an avalanche of games. That seems less likely to me. I think we're just seeing.
I agree with that. That seems to me that like they've ignored the Virtual Console almost completely for like 5 years now. Why would they go back to it like all of a sudden and so quick?
Yeah, well, I think they've probably had a list like this all along, and it was just a matter of what can we get done, what do we think people want, what goes good with our new releases, and so they're not just going to dump everything at once. Especially like, they released the Donkey Kong trilogy on Wii U finally shortly around, not too far off from when Tropical Freeze came out, I think.
Yeah.
And that can't have been a coincidence, so it's just... it's just a list. Everything on it is something that they'll probably release eventually, but not necessarily on the Wii U.
So are you leaning real or ridiculous?
I think it's real, but I don't think it means much.
Okay. Deg, what do you think?
I'd have to side with Nick and say it's sort of like real ridiculous.
Real ridiculous.
Because
that's good.
It's definitely going to happen. I mean, they have this list. We might not see, as he said, every single item, and I almost guarantee we're not going to see all of them dropped in at once.
Yeah, I think that
definitely seems like it's something that's going to come in the future. So
I think the logic behind those statements makes a lot of sense. So I'm also going to say real ridiculous. And let's go ahead and move on here. We got two more to cover. This one is a little bit bigger. It was in the same it's been reported. It was reported at the same time, so it's getting lumped together with a lot of these. But a data miner recently posted a conversation with an individual, this is from Nintendo Life, by the way, who claims Nintendo has listed a new title ID for The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Wii U eShop. I'm not sure if this is like supposed to be a re-release or like an actual HD game. People are speculating Twilight Princess HD for some reason. But what do you think, real or ridiculous?
Well, it depends. Is it HD or not? Because I think that really makes it a much harder question.
Let's assume that it is the HD one, because for some reason that seems to be where most of the speculation is right now.
Well, let's see. They're putting out a lot more, apology Zelda games over the past few years. Even when they're really good, that's like what Wind Waker HD amounted to be. It was like, we're really sorry, but it's going to be forever before we have a new one. Here's something you used to like. And it's not really impossible to think they'd do that again with Twilight Princess. They said it didn't take that long for Wind Waker. The different graphical style's not really going to make it take that much longer for Twilight Princess, especially if the new one is delayed.
Yeah, that seems very likely as sort of a holdover, like, hey, we're still thinking about you fans, so here's something. But
so you guys think that's closer to real then?
I think even if it doesn't happen, I would almost be more disappointed than like, oh, it wasn't like they missed an opportunity, because they really came out and said that Wind Waker HD was just not that hard for them, and it was actually worked out to be a really great experiment. And
It
that
sold like
implies,
1 million units too.
and that implies to me that they're very ready to repeat that success, because Nintendo is not shy about easy money.
And then the question on that continues into, are they going to port up the Wii version or the GameCube release? Because
GameCube.
I would assume GameCube, because if it wasn't that
If
hard
it's
for
an
them to port
HD
up
remake,
Wind
I would
Waker,
assume that they've just decided they found a way to do both.
possibly both. I'm just thinking with if Wind Waker was that easy and they already know how to port up Wind Waker, which was a GameCube game, porting up the GameCube version of Twilight Princess would be easier, possibly.
That's
On
actually.
the other hand,
So go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, on the other hand, really, the Wii version, the only real difference is they screen flipped the horizontal and added waggle controls. So
Well, think about how easy it would be for them now if they were making an HD version. It's not a port, so they're starting over to some degree, even if they're reusing a lot of assets. And that means they'd have the time and ability to just put in the controls properly instead of this weird mirror thing that they had to do last minute for the Wii.
which could work, except that if it is just sort of a cash grab release, they might not do that.
Yeah, I don't think they would waste their time.
I don't
with
think
something
so.
like that
Wind
if it's
Waker,
cash.
those really.
On the other hand,
That's not a hard
they
thing
did
to
do a
do,
lot
though.
of changes. They did changes to the Wind Waker HD with the change in the Tingle Tuner stuff and the
Yeah, and they said it only took 6 months. I'm really
yeah.
strongly inclined to believe that the controls, now that it's almost 10 years later, is not going to be a problem for them.
because with Twilight Princess Wii being an initial release, and they were still figuring out exactly what they were doing with motion controls. And now we do have the Motion Plus. We have, like as you said, 10 years of experience. Like, how do we actually make motion controls fun? We've
Putting
learned
multiple
that.
control schemes in their games is something they've been doing more often recently. A lot of even if it's just like, a 2D side scroller that can use different controllers, that still shows that their focus on offering those options is there, and I think they would want to maintain
I was
that.
kind of wondering myself whether they would like straight up go, here, you can play it on the gamepad, or they would like be like, oh, you can play it on the gamepad or the Pro Controller or the Wii Remote and the Nunchuck and use the motion control.
I think they would, because I think that would look really good for them to just get a couple more sales before they completely move on.
Because
I think
then
so too.
they present the option into the player's hand. Hey, which control scheme did you like? Did you like the GameCube? Did you like the Wii? You get to pick. Power to the player, etc.
Plus,
But
Nintendo doesn't have to put all this money and budget and team into making a new game, so the bulk of their new resources can go to features like this, because all the other work is essentially done, and it's a far different situation to upgrade it.
But at the same time, I'm also going to say, in my opinion, I think this rumor is ridiculous. I don't think I just don't see it happening. This was teased a while back, like it was faked about what, half a year ago, along the same lines as a certain Rayman leak, and it's just and I don't know. I have a hard time buying stuff like this until it like actually is proven, because it's just a game, right? It's not the next thing we're going to talk about, which is like actual hardware news.
Yeah. Nick? What's
I-
your
Yeah, so
thought?
I say ridiculous.
Well, I think it's I think it's a possibility. I guess I'll say I think it's real for now. I'm
You're
hopeful.
not playing the game right.
I think it's real.
The game
Okay.
is rigged to make.
I think I'm gonna go with real.
I'll commit to real then. You know what? I'll commit to real, and I'll just be wrong later if it's not.
Okay, that's fine. And I'm probably gonna be the one that's wrong.
My-
honestly.
I'm gonna
I-
go with real, and I'm gonna back that up with like, look at how long it took us to finally get our Majora's Mask remake. But
That's
we
a good point.
finally got
That's
it.
a really good point.
Yeah.
I gotta give you credit on that argument. But let's go ahead and move on to our last rumor, and this is my favorite one because I always love this stuff. Nintendo NX, this is from IGN. Nintendo NX reportedly has industry-leading tech and 2016 release date. The Wall Street Journal claims sources are saying the console will come with, quote, industry-leading chips to ensure that it can compete with PS4 and Xbox One and coax back third parties, as well as, quote, a mobile unit that could either be used in conjunction with the console or taken on the road for separate use. The more interesting part of this to me is not the release date, which I've been saying is going to be 2016 for a while now, but is the fact that they're saying it's going to have industry-leading chips. Now, the 2016 release date, I'm going to say, is real. Whether it's going to be technologically advanced to the point where it's more powerful than PS4 or Xbox One or, equally powerful, I'm leaning ridiculous on that one.
I'm
That
gonna
doesn't seem like a Nintendo move to me.
I'm gonna say pretty much the exact same thing you did. The 2016, and I've agreed with you every time you brought it up, that seems like that is coming. It's going to be a 2016 release. They're talking about the mobile unit used in conjunction. Yeah, I mean, look at the Vita and the PS4. I mean, sure, the Vita kind of flopped, but we already have things leading in that direction in
Yeah,
in
and
the
I
gaming
think
world.
I think that's
Look
probably
at
realistic too.
the gamepad that we have for the Wii U. It's essentially that with a bigger network, I'm guessing. More mobile support on that. So that I'm going to go with real on as well. I mean, that just seems what they're going for with the NX from everything that we've heard so far. The industry-leading chips part, I'm not so sure about. I can kind of see because yes,
I
to a
think you're
degree,
being tricked by the
Nintendo.
wording there.
Yeah, I
honestly.
think the wording might be a semantical thing, but
I think industry-leading chips means newest, and it doesn't mean anything
that's
else.
probably. But I mean, Nintendo does potentially need to put some work into drawing back third-party developers. They don't really need to, but it's kind of a good thing to look at because Nintendo
Well,
itself is still
I can give
a
you an example of
beautiful
why I
developer.
think the hardware being powerful and modern is real. And that is because if you look at the other trends of money that they're spending and investing, you can see that they're serious about a lot of modern trends, like the 20 million that they're investing alongside with Google into their whole Pokemon Go thing. Like Nintendo is paying attention to where technology is going at this point. Even if people are still stuck 5 years ago being like, they don't know what's going on. Like they clearly are just taking their time getting ready for a lot of big choices to take them in that direction.
The difficult thing to assess with all this stuff is we don't really know the company's new direction under their new CEO and president. He's a pretty business savvy guy from what I understand. I can't even remember his name right now, so there you go.
Well, I don't think it matters, right? Because I think he's been on record as saying he's not making huge sweeping changes this time, and it's
no, because he's just a temp guy basically.
Yeah. So I think that they're still on the same path that they were, and even though Iwata was driving a lot of decisions, we still know that the company in a lot of ways was a more almost like a democratic setup. A lot of different people had influence over major decisions.
Yeah, and it's just so hard for me to take a look at Nintendo and be like, yeah, they're going to be competitive straight up with PS4 and Xbox One in terms of both the quality of their graphics and the fact that they're trying to get back all these third parties that have, for lack of a better word, straight up abandoned them.
Well, I think they'll definitely, potentially, at least, I'll rein myself back on that. Potentially have that competitive edge in their hardware, but knowing Nintendo, they're not going to drive that competition. It's not going to be a selling point. It's not going to be much of a talking point. It's just going to be like, oh,
we don't know
sure,
that though. We don't know that. We don't because think about
this
how
is
many.
We're talking rumors, so this is how I'm interpreting things.
I'm just looking at their past.
Work out.
Well, I'd like to hear your argument on that, Nick.
Well, Nintendo's big into recognizing their roots lately. One of their roots is actually being all about how great their systems are and what they can do. Now you're playing with power. You're playing with superpower was a Super Nintendo slogan. So they moved away from that after a while, but that is still something that they could easily come back to and do, especially if they're ready to take a big risk. They've taken risks in game design. I don't see why they might not be ready to take a risk in terms of putting more out there for hardware.
I just don't see it as a selling or talking point. I see it more as and by the way, we're powerful now again.
Well, they would do it through their games.
But it's still Nintendo. It's still, here's our games. We're not focusing on that powerhouse PS4, Xbox One, who has the better graphics and the FPSs and blah, blah, blah. It'll just be look at how good our games look now. The focus isn't on the graphics themselves. I see Nintendo's focusing, as they have been, more on the games than the actual hardware, if you get what I'm saying.
I think they have been focusing on the hardware. That's the premise of the gamepad, or rather, they weren't focusing on it properly. But anyways, this starting to be a tangent.
Going in all different sorts of directions. And
but we're looking at the NX hardware. I think it is. I think what's been stated is real, but I don't think I have my own interpretation of that.
You have swayed me, and I'm going to go with real alongside Nick.
Do you think that the Wall Street Journal is purposely reporting it kind of vaguely, just so that they can kind of fuel speculation?
Sure. Possibly. It's going to be different than what we're hearing about now, because it always is.
I feel like the way that Nintendo has gone about like dropping little hints about the NX like every so often is actually really good for their marketing of the system, because it every couple months it seems like something comes up and it just feeds more and more fuel into the fire, up to this big like 2016 production that we're going to get of the announcement of this amazing new system. And like no matter what it is, I think people are going to be incredibly interested.
And I feel
into what
that's
they're gonna
going
bring
back
the
to
table.
some classic Nintendo moves, because they've always had that little bit of a curtain, and they specifically are really close card players on exactly what they're going to release.
I
They're
love it,
not-
but it drives me freaking nuts.
Oh yeah, but that's the point, is
Yeah.
that you're always thinking about it, and they come up with something else new a couple months later, and you're like, oh man, now I want to know more. When's the next release? And they've always been really good about that, and then they kind of dropped the ball on that with like the 3DS and the Wii U, honestly, and that.
Well, because they botched the launch so bad, it was like people weren't interested.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They didn't have that proper lead up, and now they're getting back to that little breadcrumbs of information here and there to get you real hyped up for that.
Anyway, so you guys are leaning real.
Mhm.
I'm still leaning ridiculous on this one, mostly because of the technological thing. But if it's what you said and they're being vague on purpose, then I'm probably gonna say it's mostly real. I mean, you can't really make a real statement on something that's vague. So
Well, it was Nick saying that it might not mean like technologically industry leading as
that's
powerhouse,
sort of what changed my mind.
but as new. That definitely was a convincing argument from Nick that pretty much swayed me over.
Yeah,
so
good
I'm
job,
gonna go
Nick.
with that.
Great job. We got to get you on more of these things. And I want to play Real or Ridiculous more in the future. This was fun. This was a good show.
Yeah.
It was a little long, but whatever.
Hey, it happens. Deal with
Yeah.
it.
We had a
Yeah,
bunch
we had a
of rumors
freaking
all
30
at
minute,
once.
30 minute, 20 questions again this week. So,
Ugh.
And I wasn't even on it.
no, I know. I don't know what's going on over there. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it later.
Yeah, I need to watch that tonight as well.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. For Deg and Nick, I'm Spiegel. See you next time.